Hello, hello. It's January 17th, 2023. It's a weekly SIG Node SIG Node meeting, not CI. CI will be tomorrow. Welcome, everybody. Today, I want to start with our typical PR trends analysis. So we have 217 PRs right now. We don't close and merge as actively as we would expect. And also we start working on enhancements. So I think it's a stage of a project when like people mostly looking at the reviews and writing enhancements and doing PR reviews. But if you have cycles, please get on it and help us move project along and keep PR number healthy. With that said, let's go to the first agenda item. Ryan, it's something we discussed on CI meeting last week, right?
Yeah, it was. So yeah, can we drill into that issue? So this is for the local storage capacity isolation feature. It's alpha currently, and there's some problems with it. There's a few issues open for it, like this one, and others. And the question is, do we want to keep the feature around and graduate it to beta or deprecate it out? We haven't had a lot of traction on the feature in the past, and so I was wanting to gather information from the team about what we should do with it. Is there any opinions on this feature? Is Murnal here?
Yeah, I'm here. So I think maybe we should summarize where the current status of it is. Like, what are the blockers?
So one blocker is that a user can change the project ID of a directory, which is potentially a security problem. Other block. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, is this something we can check with the kernel file system teams and see if they can help out here? If you have any thoughts or any ways to address it somehow, or maybe it's just marked as needs upstream kernel work or file system work.
So the feature, maybe I can add a little bit background, the context. The feature is like a non-dual feature. What do we want to do? Because we don't have efficient way to track. This is the kernel feature. I think that maybe like even like 15 years ago, I already sent this request to Linux community. So we don't have efficient way to track the disk usage. And so there's the feature non-dual in the kernel side. They have the disk quota. They used to be called disk quota. Then this is the second version or third version, I forgot. So when we first have the Kubernetes start, so we are not also have this kind of problem, and which is we have to use in a really heavy way to track of the disk usage. So luckily right now, a lot of the usage is using the PDE, remote storage, all those kind of things not. But on the local storage side today, we still have a little bit problem. I mean, not a little bit problem. If a customer using heavily on the local storage, we cannot really efficient to track of the image usage, logging usage, all those kind of things, and not really efficient to charge to the user. So this is the time we've been promised by the kernel folks. They are going to give us not per cgroup way, but this is better, could be collect to the cgroup instead like the process, right? Per process, those things. And so this is why after this third version or something like that implementation, so we founded this effort in the Kubernetes community. I haven't looked at it, but I know that when we review in this community meeting, and we did think about the kernel implementation still is a little bit different from what the original thought. But I agree with the Manu. What's the real problem it is? Maybe this is the good way for us to send those requests to the kernel folks. No matter CPU and memory, actually, it's because of how we are using those containers, then we send those requests. So like this MCG memory v2, like the user NAND, UM handling actually is requested from us more than like around 15 years ago. So that's why I think this also could be the similar way.
So I wanted to start the process of maybe deprecating this feature, since there isn't really an efficient way of doing it that's cross-platform. Are there any objections of doing that?
Maybe we summarize the status first and then make a call whether it's.
I think yeah, on the PR or issue that I create, I can summarize the status and we can have a discussion there on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Once you have an update, we can again discuss here and then decide. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, part of this update will be all the issues that we had. Maybe Ryan, if you can collect all the issues that we have but never addressed and nobody looking at them, it will be another data point.
Yeah, will do. Thanks.
And so just quick question for this feature, without it, Kubla tracks file usage with like DU, right? Just
Correct.
like, okay, got it. Because the other thing I would recommend we look into, I think we also need to support it on the container runtime side, because container runtimes also support over the CRI, they report, overlay file system usage basically, right? And they also do this. So I think we'd have to think about that as well. Something I was looking into recently.
Very cool. I'll update the issue with the collected issues from all the other issues on this topic, and we can have another discussion about it. Thanks.
Yeah, and this is one of those infinite alphas and infinite betas that we need to get rid of. So general mandate is if we have something that never graduates past alpha or beta, it needs to be deprecated. So I'm not saying that we need to force it on this specific case, but it's something we need to actively look into. Okay, Vinay, I think I saw you in a call.
Yeah, I'm here. So the in-place part, the update here is that the API PR, Tim Hawkin, is concerned about the gap between merging the API PR and then a week later following up with the implementation PR rebase to the merged API PR. The concern is that if there is anything that comes up that would require you to unwind the whole feature, the worst case scenario, then it will be very difficult, especially if other PRs, intervening PRs have picked up on the API changes, and then you're going to have to run through resolving hairy conflicts. I think it's a reasonable argument. I don't have any. My main reason to separate them out was that this is a big change, and it would be easier for in posterity if someone is looking at it. Just look at the API changes. It's just one commit there, and then the implementation is a separate commit. That was my main reason. And then a secondary auxiliary reason here is that it'll give me the time to bring in the periodic CI jobs, which we have disabled, and ensure that they're running clean and they're doing no ops until the implementation merges and the implementation goes in, they continue to remain green. It's not a big deal. I think Tim's point stands despite these two. So I have no concerns. We can always add the periodic CI jobs afterwards, and then if there is any issues, then we'll iterate on it and fix it hopefully fairly quickly. I'd rather bring it in because there are other jobs that have referenced the pull pull job, and they occasionally keep failing when they do retest, and it's a distraction for other PRs. So I think at this point we want Derek and Tim to go in there. I just rebased the PR and then updated, checked the pull request, the pull job for in-place resize, ran it multiple times. It's established a history of running green. We just want both Tim and Derek to slap their LGTMs and approves and get this in and watch over it for the next week or so, and then bring the other CI jobs in. One other change that we discussed in the context of the API PR is a small name change to the resize policy to structure it better, to allow for different policy types to be appended. Today, we just have resize policy. Under that, we have a policy, no restart, restart not required, and restart required. What he said is it might be better to name that as restart policy so that it's very specific on what it is, what's the meaning, and then not required and restart container, and potentially in the future have something like a restart pod. This could be for some kind of a VM container, which requires you to run through the init processes, init containers once again to provision it. And there is no other way to do this other than have Kubernetes support it. So that's a plausible use case. We don't have a real use case like we have for restart container, which is the legacy applications. But if it comes, we can accommodate it. That covers it. Don, I saw your question. Did you mean scheduler 120, API server 129, or did you mean 119? You asked a question on the KEP update that I kept update PR.
Sorry, it's a typo. It's the 29. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. There is a versions queue document that I found, and they have very specific reasons to allow only certain versions. And I think with the scheduler and kubelet, let me just post it here in the chat. With scheduler and kubelet, with scheduler and API server, the scheduler must not exceed the API server version, but it can be behind by one. That's what they have in here. So that's the reason I drew up that table to see what combinations make sense and what we need to support. And this is going to be a follow-on PR again, because this PR has already been reviewed and approved by Derek. I don't want to touch even to change a comment at this point to avoid resetting reviews. The only changes I've been doing, that's the ones that are forced upon me by a rebasis.
Vinay, I think it will be great if you can reply in this comment. So
yeah, I'll do that. I'll put this link in there and then. Yeah, from the API side, I don't think there are any issues. I don't know if Derek has any questions. Sergey, there are a couple of questions that you had in there in the API PR. I have already addressed them. If you don't mind taking a look and resolving them, please do. And I think that leaves
like smaller ones. Yeah, but I will take a look.
Yeah. No, they were very valid ones. The fact that I've aforementioned and in the Swagger documentation, it'll confuse people. So very good catch there. Thank you. Oh, that's it from me.
Thank you, Vinay. I keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be done this week. I was hoping Derek will be here today and I can ping Tim as soon as Derek's concerns are addressed. I don't know if he still wants the API PR merge first and then this go on it. Hopefully he'll see our notes. We'll put some notes in the meeting, on the meeting doc, and I'll update it. Okay. I've already given that information there, so you can look at it, I hope.
Next is QoS class resource cap. I think it's Marcus.
Yes, here. So yeah, just an update on the cap. So I've updated the cap based on the feedback and comments I've got in the past. So I guess the two main concerns in the past were especially the kind of pod annotation based bridge gap UX that we proposed in the KEP, but now I ditched that completely and kind of put in the in the first implementation phase that we already go straight to Kubernetes API with the changes. So no pod annotation. Pod annotations would be involved in that at all. And the other kind of question that has been popping up many times is that isn't there a mechanism for limiting the usage of some classes? So for example, being able to say that only 2 users of this high priority class on this node can be at the same time. So that has also been added to the KEP. So there is this possibility for a kind of class capacity to limit the usage of classes.
Would scheduler know about this class capacity?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes. Scheduler would know about that. So, yeah. So I can show a short demo if you want to see how it would kind of work in practice, or how the user interface would look in practice. So I could, yeah.
Yeah, I think we have time. So if you have it ready, let me know. Or you
Yeah.
can back to it in a few minutes.
Yeah. I think I could try to run. Yeah, try to run it. So it's based on the latest code. So we will take only probably 5 minutes or a few minutes.
Present now.
Yeah. So. Okay. So let's see. So can you see anything? Is it too small?
Yeah.
You can see it.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I have a one node cluster running on the kind of pretty recent version of Kubernetes and a CRI-O container runtime patched to support the QoS clusters as well. So let's take a look how the node looks like. So in here we have kind of enabled container level QoS class resources. So we see block IO, like 3 classes: high priority, low priority, and normal. And then there are 2 dummy classes that don't do anything, just for my testing and demo purposes. And there is RDT class, RDT QoS resource with 4 classes: bronze, gold, silver, and system default. And we have in this demo, I've just put some capacity into these classes to demonstrate that. So we have kind of infinite, well, it's kind of inverse, that what would be nice in all practical in real life, but high priority has like kind of infinite capacity, and low priority has capacity 1, and normal, like 2 users can be at the same for the block IO, for example. And then in the node status, we also see the kind of usage of these QoS resources. Then if we take a look at the demo pod, we would have a simple pod here that basically does nothing, but it has 2 containers. The first container would request RDT class gold and block IO class high priority, and the second container would request RDT class bronze and block IO class low priority. So if we run that one, okay, now it's running, and now we can see in the node status now that actually block IO class high priority and low priority are both kind of, one instance is reserved from these classes, and RDT classes bronze and gold as well are kind of, so the gold class would be fully occupied at the moment. And we have like second container, it tries to it also has two containers. First one only requests RDT class bronze, and the second RDT class gold and block.io class low priority. Now, if we try to run this one, we see that it's pending, and from the pod status we can see that it's pending because block.io class low priority is not available. And if we delete the first one, now we should see the second one running. So yeah, now it is running, and then, well, the node status kind of reflects the changed allocation of resources as well, or queues resources as well. What else do we have here? Then we also, in the next or future implementation phases, kind of suggest to extend the resource quota mechanism to support these queues resources as well. So I can quickly show that. So we would have a quota here. Let's say, well, for a container of resources, RDT class bronze, like 2 instances are allowed in this default namespace. And then for block.io, we don't put any, we allow classes normal and low priority, but don't put any capacity limits there. And for this dummy one resource, we also put some limits, capacity limit to class D. And now if we set that, so we get the status of the resource quota. We can see that there are now some quota in effect in the default namespace as we specified. So for this RDT, we put in this quota also a kind of limit per usage. And okay, now the one pod is actually running, so it's also, yeah, it's also already kind of accounting against that quota. So if we delete that.
Can you comment on how it was configured? Like, did you configure nodes first with specific resources, and then they auto-discover it somehow, like which classes exist on which nodes?
Yeah, in the SCEP, the kind of management of these resources is handled in the runtime. So those resources are configured and managed by the runtime, and then the runtime reports through the runtime status message to Kubernetes what is available on the nodes. And then Kubernetes just updates the node status, and the scheduler gets that from there, kind of the availability, what is available on which nodes. So basically all of these are configured in the runtime.
And I remember I asked it in early stage of a CAP, is it mutable or immutable for the node?
Basically, it depends on the resource I get. Well, and it's kind of in the CAP, it's part of the kind of status information at the discovery phase of the resource. So some QoS resources may be immutable, so you cannot change it after the container or pod has been created. But it is possible to flag it as mutable as well. So I guess the main reason for immutability could be, for example, in some cases for like VM-based runtimes. So you cannot. There may be use cases where you cannot really change it after something has been allocated for the VM. But it depends on the kind of resource, and it's shown in the, or it's stated in the kind of resource discovery phase.
Yeah, I'll need to read through CAP, but I think today nodes have static CPUs and static memory because of all the caching that we do in scheduler. So there will be no confusion. Like we cannot update not available resources in runtime. So I wonder if it will be new pattern with resources.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you mean immutability, kind of what is available? So yeah, there are like two mutability. So one is that, is it possible to update the kind of resource assignment of running containers? So yeah, that depends on the resource, but kind of nothing prevents from the kind of API point of view to change the kind of available resources on the node. But that, so from the API point of view, that is not like restricted in any way. But in practice,
we're talking about hard plugging some resource.
Yeah, for example, or changing the runtime configuration kind of dynamically during while the runtime is running.
And Sergey, actually, the immutable node resources, it's artificially only for memory and CPU. So if we think about extended resources on one node or device plugin provided resources, the capacities are updated based on the state. So scheduler properly handles that.
Yeah.
It's fair, yeah. I just try to map all those concepts from like, I mean, what exists for CPU and memory, and people may map their understanding of available memory and try to cache it somewhere, which will be which will not be true for this kind of resources. Yeah, and I'm glad you already thought about pod in-place update. I think what VNA work is showing that this is a requested feature, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And to add some more context to this, I looked at this CAP as well from the perspective of adding the capability for reporting. Let's say you have a network device, network CNI, which is capable of offering different QoS levels for network traffic or even bandwidth limits and requests. We have limits today, but focusing just on QoS, like traffic from pod A is high priority, or container A in pod A is high priority, container B is low priority. That I don't know if we can do it, but between different pods, we can definitely differentiate and implement QoS. We can give some pods high priority, like if you have a real-time application running in the pod, then that would require low latency network pathways, and that we can make that happen using eBPF. This feature, from that perspective, it makes it easy to advertise QoS levels in the network traffic, and then different values that you can have. Let's say network QoS and high priority, or expedited, or best effort. You can have these classes, and you can go further beyond it. So from my what I saw, I'm a huge +1 for this feature.
Yeah, thanks, Vinay. So yeah, that data traffic prioritization is definitely one kind of use case that they're also interested, but I haven't had time to really prototype on that, because I guess that will kind of need some deep dive into CNI and how it kind of would work in practice. But we'll definitely on the list. Yeah, definitely on the kind of list, to-do list too.
We'll have to work out how. I think it will require CNI extension to discover capabilities and report the extended capabilities or something. Another thing that was going on, I saw on the network SIG, was that the possibility of extending CRI to today we have set up pod sandbox, tear down pod sandbox, explicit APIs for set up pod network, tear down pod network. I found that as a haven't figured out what its advantages for kubelet to directly manage network would be, but there might be some advanced use cases. I've floated some, I don't know, some uninformed ideas, but this is something I thought I should mention was being discussed in SIG network. Since we have CRI folks here, you can take a look and see how you feel about it.
If you can
Yeah.
send links,
Let me just share it in the chat.
Yeah, I saw a tweet about it, but haven't seen the link. So if you can share a link, it'll be useful. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Vinay, while you're sharing the link, let's go to the next
Yeah.
item. Marcus, thank you for the demo. I think I will take over the screen share.
Yeah, thank you.
I just share the link in the chat.
Okay, there's an email. Okay, let me put it in agenda, and whoever interested will be completed.
Yeah.
Now, if you have any quick updates or quick thoughts, please share. Otherwise, I will go forward. Okay, then. Yeah, next item I wanted to share is Bartosz requesting to be a reviewer, and I'm fully supportive. If you have any concerns, please voice it here. Otherwise, I think it should be good to go. So Don, Derek, if you can, Don, Derek is not here. Don is already LGTM'd, so we'll wait for Derek, and we'll have one more reviewer, hopefully.
Thank you very much. First of all, to Kevin and to the people who vote for me, I appreciate this and will hope to do my best in this role. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, and sorry for calling you Bartosz, but it's
I'm
how
Ed. People call me Ed.
Okay, I can call you Ed. I'll try to remember, but yeah, I'm always matching it to GitHub handle, and it's sometimes hard to switch.
Yeah, true.
Thank you. Sidecar update. We've been running a sidecar working group for more than a month now, and we get to the point when we have CAP that almost fully fleshed out, and we want to move it to GitHub, hopefully tonight. If you have any comments to the Google Doc, you can leave comments today, or tomorrow you'll have opportunity to do it on GitHub. I can give more update once we have it on GitHub, so it will be completely fleshed out. So maybe next time I can do small explanation and presentation about it. So yeah, if you have comments right now, please comment it there. If no questions, let's go to the next item, next meeting for plugin, for Kubernetes plugin.
Yeah, we will have next meeting in 2 weeks from now. We had today the last session. Basically, we presented our approach. Basically, there was a feedback passed in the last session, the previous session, which we tried to cover. We presented the possible architecture, how to deal with that. Yeah, we are proceeding with that. In next meeting, we will go through more details about the CAP kind of fill out with information, and we will continue from there.
So you said the meeting was today. Can you share recording so we will have it published.
The recording is with my colleague Adrian. He might be offline already today. Latest tomorrow morning, we will send it to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we reached the end of the agenda today. Is there any other topics? If not, let's get 20 minutes back to do more work. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.